Thank you very much. So we're going to dive into this topic around hyper-personalization in a cookie-deprecated world. It's kind of oxymoronic title, isn't it? Because we have the consumers on one side demanding a lot of personalization and everything needs to be on their terms. And on the other hand, they want privacy as well, and the cookies are dying and privacy here and there. So really that's what we're going to discuss in this panel debate. But before that, let's have it one more time from Mike Anderson from Agillic. Maybe this doesn't work. Oh, there we go.
How important is personalization in the conversations that you're having at Agillic?
It's honestly, it's the most important thing. There are two facets to personalization that I will say that are important to me. The one is obviously, I have information on you as a visitor, and I'm going to try to put the next best experience, the next best offer, something that helps you move through where I want you to go faster. The second piece is, how do I make sure that when somebody jumps mediums from the website to the call center, that we're ready to provide a logically contiguous journey for that customer. It's all about the customer profile, and then just making inferences as to what do I think this customer is interested in.
So we've been talking a lot about personalization today. It's almost as if it's been the one word that we've all sort of implicitly agreed on what is. We've also been talking a lot about data, and yes, that is indeed very important. And in order to create these personalized customer experiences, we do need to funnel data from all kinds of data sources through a CDP such as Agillic. But then what happens? So personalization, what is that? It's like a uniform term that everybody seems to implicitly agree on. So that's what the idea is with this panel. And the reason, one of the reasons I think, perhaps the main reason for people actually not maybe completely understanding what personalization is the fact that the context around personalization is constantly changing. So you have the consumer's expectations versus privacy constantly changing. Tech is changing, tools are becoming better, cookies are dying, things are changing in order to accommodate for that. But how about our understanding of the term? That's actually one of the things that we'll be addressing in this panel. So before welcoming the panel on stage, a few words on myself. I am an author within personalization, so really born out of the frustration with all these misunderstandings around the term personalization. So those of you who will be attending the dinner party will be handing out some of the copies of Hello First Name, which I hope that you'll enjoy. So I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was at the bottom of this. What are the common denominators? Can we unify our conversations in one way of talking about this term so no one misunderstands each other? I'm also the Chief Experience Officer at Agillic, which is one of the sponsors here. Obviously, it's the best marketing automation platform in the world, but we're not going to talk about that today. So allow me to actually introduce the panel to the stage. I'd like to welcome Peter Meyer. Please come to the stage, Peter. Peter is the implementation lead in data and analytics from Agillic Media in Denmark.
Thank you.
Please have a seat, Peter.
Thank you.
So before, let's get you over here as well, Marina. So Marina, come to the stage, please. Marina is the Marina Amer, Manager of Analytics and Visualization at the Barceló Hotel Group. And first of all, maybe Peter, could you introduce yourself to the crowd here? Who is Agillic Media and who are you?
Yes. Agillic Media is a Nordic media company, mostly printed magazines, and it was founded in 1873 by Laura and Carl Aller, and I have to add that this is not one of our websites. This is our first magazine cover for Nordisk Mønstertidende, published in 1874, namely January 1st. And back then, papers were for men, and there was nothing really to read for women. And then Laura thought that this would be a nice idea. Today, Agillic has separate entities in Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, where I work in Denmark.
And we heard from one of your colleagues in the session just before.
Yes.
So yeah, you seem to really be pushing the boundaries. We'd love to get back to that.
And yeah, what do? I lead the implementation setup, implementation and setup of our stacks, namely our Google stack. So that's Google Tag Manager and today GA4, but also our Telium stack, namely the server-side part of it.
Then over to you, Marina. Welcome to the panel. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you're working at Barceló?
Yeah, so Barceló started over 90 years ago. It's not as old as Peter's company. It started as a small transport company in Mallorca, and today we have over 300 hotels in over 30 countries. So it's changed a little bit. I work in the digital business department, so basically we're focusing on digital sales. So that means our website, barceló.com, our call centers all over the world, and as well as online travel agencies. And in my team specifically, we do anything related to data regarding those sale channels. So from collection through Telium IQ to audiences to analysis, AI, anything you can imagine, that's what we do.
And personalization, because we're going to see some really, really interesting examples from you later, which you can all look forward to. So just before kicking the discussion off here, so how many in here would say that they know what personalization is? Raise of hands. Dive behind the light, beneath the light here. Okay, so most of you. So I ask this question quite often when I'm out there speaking. And when I then ask people, what is it that you sort of think of when you hear the term personalization? The answers are completely different, though. So again, back to this idea of really trying to figure out what is personalization. So allow me, before the panel kicks off here, to get into sort of a practitioner's view on personalization. So when writing the book, Hello First Name, me and my co-authors did a lot of work with expert panels from within the marketing community, especially in the Nordics, but indeed also conversations with people internationally speaking. And what we found that what we really needed wasn't particularly like a definition, a set definition of personalization, because the term is so broad. So what we really needed is more like a practitioner's view on personalization. So we, as practitioners, can agree, yes, that most marketing is personalized in some way or the other, or to some degree or the other. But really, what do we need to focus on when we're doing this kind of project versus this kind of project or that kind of project? So we really tried to sort of boil it down to what personalization really is. So we take away all the channels and see what is really, really left. So personalization is something that happens when you combine your customer insights with the right content. So on the left side here of the bow tie of personalization, as we call the model, which is also the main model in the book, you'll have sort of two main types of insights. So you have your fairly static groups of customers. That would be your customer segments. It can either be value-based segments, demographic segments, your personas, or behavioral segmentation even, so the people who tend to buy the same things or consume your services in much the same manner. So that's one type of insight. You'd have the moments of truth as well. We've been talking a lot about moments today. So the moments that matter the most to your company, the most to the customer, are indeed the moments of truth. So what goes on right now? We're talking real time, we're talking behavioral data. We're really trying to make these ends meet when people are jumping from one channel to the other, really trying to dig into intent. But what is personalization if we don't meet the customer with any content? So no content, no personalization. So much the same way as when you go to the party with a self-tied bow tie. The gentleman in here can testify to the fact that it's really easy to tie up one of those. Not true. So, I mean, if you're too heavy on the insights part, and we have been talking mostly about the insights today, I think, but the content side is really too short, then you'll look a bit funny, right? And the same goes the other way. So if you're too heavy on the content side, but you're really short on the insights, not really sure whom to tell what, then you also come across as being too salesy or annoying at worst. So really try to strike a balance here. The content part being divided in what you could refer to as the messages. So whatever you want the customer to feel or do or see or experience. So your calls to actions in a way. That's one thing. That's where we as marketers pour in our creativity, where we can now get help from Gen AI, but also the content feeds. So as in the hotel rooms or the articles on the Media websites and whatever. So the content that the marketers don't create, but we can actually, as marketers, we take it, we can rank it, we can group it, we can put a meaningful headline on it, and really think about those moments that matter the most. Think about how you consider all four corners of the bow tie of personalization here and say, are we really giving the customers the best possible personalized experience in these moments that matter? Because really that's what personalization is all about. It's about combining the insights with your content. So how about this term hyper-personalization then? How does that work? So let's have a look at how that could look from a health club member point of view. So a moment of truth in the health club member journey, how could that look like? So that would be someone getting a bit too comfortable eating crisps on the couch. So couch potatoes, we're all familiar with that. So inactivity is one of the main reasons for customer attrition within health club operators. Then you'd have different types of segments, different types of people who are experiencing this inactivity. So that could be young Brian working out to get buff, look good naked, whatnot. Or it could be Toby, who is my mother. She's 75, she's working out for health reasons. She's battling osteoporosis, she wants to pick up her 10 grandchildren in a cargo bike. Not at once, obviously, but still maybe one or two at a time. So how do we reactivate these different types of segments? They'll be needing different messaging for them. So this wouldn't work for her. She's not working out to get buff. She's working out for health reasons. So the way that the tonality and the tone of voice and the lines of argumentation, her version of the reactivation message would be totally different to that Brian would like. Same goes for the content feeds that we supply to her. So that would be different classes, that would be different exercises that we suggest to her. So in these moments where you can indeed combine all the four corners here, I believe we are talking about hyper-personalization, but that can be difficult, of course. So as I said, this bow tie of personalization is very much about giving a communication object with which, or a lens with which you can look at your personalization projects and look into what you should be focusing on. So three distinct marketing disciplines actually use personalization. So that will be your campaigns, where you'll be focusing on how you match your segments with the right messages. Could be within marketing automation, where you're kind of doing it across. It's more about the moments of truth in the customer life cycle, matching that with the messages, or whether you're working on-site or with in-app personalization, focusing more on how you put the right content feeds with the most meaningful headlines in front of the right people. So obviously, there's some things that you need to cover, and we'll be getting back into those in the discussion shortly. So things that you need to do before you actually start out with personalization, because you can indeed start too early. So if you don't have product market fit, if your value proposition isn't in order, I suggest you fix that first. If you don't have brand trust and demand, trust was a big thing also in all the talks today, but also in just the previous ones. Fix that first. Data access, having enough of data, having data from the right moments of truth, super important. And really, you need to cover that before actually personalization becomes a full scalable strategy to build on. So there's a maturity aspect to this as well. So the backend to support any front end, which is where technology comes into place. CDPs obviously being a very important part of this, as are the marketing automation platforms. Also the people and skills, also the processes and the governance. So based on this background, we will be discussing this. So, flip through my notes here. So Peter, I'd like to ask you, so where in Alamedia, Denmark, magazine business, where are you right now with personalization?
I see, that's actually a bit exciting, because we recently decided to reboot our entire CDP implementation project. So right now we're actually building a new data foundation for our CDP, and through that personalization and many other things. We had some experiences and we are wiser, so now we're doing it again better.
So coming back to the maturity level, so you're getting started with, in the prerequisites, you're really getting the data foundation in place, is what I hear. But I assume that you are, and you're also saying that explicitly you are doing this for a reason. So what is sort of your ambition level? Where are you going with this personalized customer journey?
Yeah, see, that's more or less back to 1874, more or less. In our paper magazine world, we have personas. So we have descriptions of our users, our ideal readers, and whom we think are connected to our different brands. And what we would like in apps and websites is actually the same, but in a more dynamic way. We would like to see the person behind this visit. And we want to do that to be able to personalize closer to the user, per session, per page view maybe. We want to show people what they need right now, and we have different brands, so that's different content, but if you want to see fashion now, that's what we want to show you now, but 10 minutes from now it might be crime articles or something like that.
So a bit like what Mike Anderson was saying in the small clip here to begin with.
Yeah.
So getting the user to where you want them to be and they want to go faster.
Yeah, and it might seem a bit romantic knowing the user, but the hard facts are that we also want to be better at churn prevention, for instance. We want to get the users to not only see one article, but click to the next and the next and the next and so forth. We have ads on our websites, but if we kind of disregard those, then we also want to get people to stay longer to maybe buy some of our own products that we pitch on our websites as well. So yeah.
And which, I'm assuming that this isn't a walk in the park. So what are sort of the main obstacles that you are encountering here on this journey?
Yeah, see, I would say two interconnected things are time and people. We don't have enough time and we don't have enough people. Very much connected. And then secondarily, I would say that some of the things we planned, for instance, a CDP connection, a CM connection to the CDP is taking longer than we planned it to do, you could say. But we learn along the way, you could say.
Interesting. So, Marina, over to you. You've been working in Barceló, a hotel group, for quite some years, and I think it's fair to say that you've, as a company, been working with personalization for a bit longer. Is that fair to say?
A little bit longer, yeah.
You recognize the challenges that Peter is talking about?
Yeah. We still have them.
I see pain in your eyes. So.
So we started about 3 years ago. That's around the same time I joined the company. So I've grown with it, let's say. And to me, I think there's two main focus points when it comes to personalization, at least in my experience. So the first one would be technical. Sometimes the platforms you want to use don't want to talk to each other, or maybe not as fast as you need them to talk to each other, or maybe you don't know how to connect different sources, you know, all these kind of struggles. I'm sure we all know them. But then you have the business side, right? Where you want to create an experience that's actually impactful, that is going to take the customer where you want him or they to be.
So the content side of things, really.
Exactly. So for us, for instance, I know this is very industry specific, right? But we have what is called the billboard effect. So you're looking for your vacation and you don't necessarily come to our website. You go to a big OTA and you just browse. And then you see one of our hotels. And
like booking.com.
Exactly. And you decide to check that hotel in the chain's website, right? That's the billboard effect. So when you come, we need to retain you. We need to make sure that what value we're bringing to the table is actually better than what this big OTA can offer, right? Because we're more interested in you buying from us directly than through a third party, obviously. So what this entails for us is that we need to be really quick. We need to be very certain that the kind of personalization we're showing you is gonna impact you in the way that you want. So it's gonna show you what you're interested in, because if we miss, then we're gonna lose you. So there's a lot of factors here, business and technical. What that means is that we need to bring together different kinds of profiles. So we need to have people who know about the business, people who know about the customer profiles we usually work with. We need to have people who know about the databases that we have and what's in which side of the business, you know. they all need to come together. They need to create something meaningful, something impactful, something that can be actually done and work. And
what's the point in having a Formula One car if you don't have the team to drive it and to change the tires and the engine?
That's more or less what Peter was saying, right? Like it's
People
very
skills.
challenging in many levels, and you need to navigate each of them with the right people. And I think we've done a great job so far, but there's far more you can do on this field.
Fantastic. So where has that brought you in terms of the the customer experience? Where has that brought you? It sounds like you overcome some of those challenges that Peter was feeling and you felt as well, I could see. So where's that taking you with the user experience?
So I could talk about many examples because we have many of them. But I think it's better if we just show.
Yeah, I'll not lie. We did pre-cook a little snack for everybody.
A little journey, very short, but it's going to give you an idea of what we do, right? So I'm just going to explain to you what you're seeing because I'm very used to our website, but maybe you're not.
Let's see if I can start it here.
Yeah, so we have an unknown visitor entering our website. This is the default experience, right? Based on your country, what is most popular. So they decide to look for a specific hotel. In this case, it's going to be the Xcaret. It's not because I can see the future. And then they're going to decide on some dates that suits them and click on search. So that's going to bring them to the site of this specific hotel. They're just going to browse around. They're going to see the pictures, description, whatever that hotel has to offer, you know, get a feel of the experience. And they decide that that's not the one they want. So they go back to our homepage. Here, we personalize what they see based on the destination and the hotel that they just visited. They decide to check our offers page because they want to see a cheaper option. This is an NBO that our algorithm chose for these customers, see if we can get them to book with us. They don't. So we reorder the hotel they just visited on the first of the list. They don't want to see that, so they just keep scrolling. And they see Barceló Maya Caribe. They decide to click on that and do the same thing they did. Browse the pictures, they look at the description, everything we have to offer on this page, right? They decide this is not the one either, so they go back to our homepage. So what we do here is the offer page that they just visited, the destination, and the latest hotel. So we're trying to drive the customer. As you can see here, it's a very short navigation. We don't know much about the user. We're just trying to see if we can convince them, you know? So this would be an example of what we do.
I think it's a great example. So you're pulling all kinds of data from the session, maybe also something that you know from the user before, I don't know. But a lot of different use cases here, collecting the data, turning it into insights, trying to figure out what is most likely going on in the minds of the consumer. You could indeed also choose to ask them, as we heard about before. So small pop-up, you already know when you're going, which is, I know, is a really strong sign of intent within travel. And then you're meeting that with the right offers, but you're also sorting and putting the right content feeds in front of these persons based on those insights.
Exactly.
So I think that's a brilliant example. However, what if so say that the customer isn't actually browsing your website in order to make a purchase, but they left the site, because I know when I'm buying travels, it kind of becomes slightly bureaucratic, so we need to find a babysitter or bring the kids or which rooms and can we get our time off and so on. So what do you do then if people then abandon the website? What happens then?
Okay, so let's say this visitor decides to, well, this is basically a, sum up what you just saw, right? But let's say this visitor decided to sign up to our loyalty program, right? We have their email, they accept for us to send them newsletters. So on the left there, you see an example of what an email that this visitor will receive looks like. So basically, you see the same NBO code that we just saw on the navigation. You can see it on the email. And then you see the same hotels they visited. So we're trying to, get the user back on our site again, because most people don't buy their vacations on the same day that they visit for the first time.
Indeed.
And then on the right side, we have the same NBO. You can't see it here because I couldn't put the whole page, right? But if this visitor decides to call the call center because they have some doubts or whatever, the agent responding that call is going to see the NBO that was offered to them. So we have consistency throughout many channels. And also they would have information regarding the pages that the user visits. So if there was some kind of a struggle during the navigation or whatever, they could try to solve that within the call to actually drive the purchase.
I think it's a beautiful example again. So coming back to what we discussed earlier, so you were showing some examples of on-site personalization, how that works, and now a brilliant example of marketing automation where you're trying to actually reactivate the customer even though the customer decides to change channel and there's maybe a break in time. So thank you again for that example. So time flies when you're having fun. I think we're drawing towards an end here. So on an ending note, Peter, I'd like to pass the word to you. So thinking back on when you started upon this journey in LM Media, 3 top tips, 3 things that you wish someone told you and that you could then have either done differently or your best advice to the audience. What would those be?
Yeah, 3 tips. I would say the first one, keep it simple. Sorry. It's very easy to do very complicated things from the beginning, but you have to remember that a little goes a long way. And if you start by doing smaller building blocks, you can use them for different purposes and learn along the way. That's number 1. Number 2 would be know your data. So you should, of course, know your CM data before you throw that into the CDP. We have subscription data as well, a bit separate from that. But also remember your website data. What categories are people looking at and what are the page named and all of that. Also the simple stuff. Know all of your data and also the simple stuff. And the third one would be standardize. So when you do all of the 1 and 2 I just mentioned, then do it the same way on all your websites.
Standardize early.
Yeah. Do it from the beginning. Keep it simple and then do it the same way and build from there on all your websites and apps. Yeah.
We're running a bit short on time, but Marina, your top 3 tips, what would those be?
So really quick, I would say strong data layer. I think it can take you a long way. Like if your data layer is not strong, that's the foundation of everything else you want to build, personalization, AI, whatever.
True.
So focus on that. To me, switching from segment-based marketing to attributes-based marketing is really like a big jump because it allows you to be a lot more modular and to adapt better to a single person rather than a group. And then I would say involve as many points of view as you can. So if you can involve marketing, CRM, obviously data, whatever you can involve in, that's going to freshen up the kind of ideas you can come up with. And I think it ends up being very impactful.
Cross-functional teams.
Yep.
Thank you for those advice and thank you for your time. So panel discussions are fine on stage, but really the real discussion takes place afterwards when we are having drinks or coffee or whatever. So please don't let this be the end of the discussion. I'm hoping that we can continue this and don't be shy to walk up to the panelists to continue discussions. So one last thing, if you would like to know more about the book Hello First Name or you can't be bothered reading it but you'd like to listen to it, there's a podcast that you can subscribe to that's all available as audio chapters. I also had Mike Anderson as part of the intermediary episodes. You can download the models and the illustrations if you want to immediately sound more clever than your colleagues. Or obviously you can have a demo of Agillic, but that goes without saying. So thank you very much for being on stage. Thank you very much for coming to this and for listening and paying attention.